Karen Donovan with the Donovan team, bringing you another episode of Keeping in Tune with the Market, designed to bring relevant real estate information to buyers, sellers, and realtors to help you keep in tune with the market. Hi, this is Karen Donovan bringing you another episode of Keeping in Tune with the Market. Today, we're going to be talking about 5 terms that first-time home buyers must know before going out to look at their first house. Stay tuned. It's the home buying season. Those for sale signs are popping up all over the place. We've got to get in gear. So let's take a little journey, and I'm going to lead you through a few terms that you're going to need to know so that you'll be prepared to buy your first house. Term number 1, pre-approval. What's the difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification? Well, a pre-approval is like going almost all the way to the finish line as far as getting your loan is concerned. You provide the mortgage officer that you meet with not only your credit history, but usually copies of your bank statements, your income tax returns, so that they can really drill down and make sure that you are getting the best kind of mortgage for you. A pre-qualification is really the first step in the process, and that's where a lender talks to you, just finds out some information about your income and verifies your credit, and that's a pre-qualification. Term number 2, what is an FHA mortgage? FHA stands for Federal Housing Authority. It's a federally backed loan, and it's generally for folks who have a smaller down payment because you only need to have 3.5% to put down. In a conventional loan, you usually need to have between 10 and 20% down, although sometimes you can find conventional loans with less. The other great thing about FHA is it's great for someone who doesn't have really stellar credit. You can get an FHA loan with a credit score of somewhere around 640 to 650, but please check with your lender. Term number 3, down payment. Down payment is earnest money that the seller gets from the buyer when the buyer signs the contract. Generally speaking, there's quite a range on how much that might be. It could be as little as a couple $1,000s in some states to maybe 5 to 10% of the purchase price of the house in other states. The main thing about an escrow account is the money cannot be removed by either the buyer or the seller arbitrarily. Everyone always has to agree. And most of the time, the sale goes through, and then the escrow money goes to the seller as part of the total down payment. Term number 4, appraisal. Many people don't really know what an appraisal is. It is where there is an authorized appraiser from a third-party source who goes out to value the property to see if the bank is taking a good risk or a not so good risk on loaning money based on the value that they feel of the property. That's determined by other comparable sales in the neighborhood, as well as the condition and location of the subject property. The appraiser looks at the property, inspects it, and then goes back and does many calculations and fills out a big form that's probably anywhere between 5 his computations, and determines whether or not the house appraises. Now, if a buyer or a seller doesn't agree with what the appraiser said, they could still go through with the deal by putting in extra money or by accepting less money in the transaction. That's something that you would have to work out between the buyer and the seller and the realtors. Term number 5, closing costs. We're almost at the finish line. It's time to go to the closing table. Your attorney and your lender tell you you need to gather up all your funds for closing costs. Oh my gosh, when they tell you how much it is, you almost have a heart attack. it's not necessarily money that you have to lay out that you won't be benefiting from. Many of the items in your closing costs are escrows. What escrows are money that the bank feels they need to hold on to protect themselves for paying your taxes, your insurance, and the like. So sometimes they want a year's taxes in the escrow account, which is part of your closing costs. So in actuality, even though your closing costs seem like they shouldn't be that high, they usually end up being somewhere between 2 to 5% of the total purchase price of the house. The best thing to do is to talk to your lender and make sure that they give you a good faith estimate of all of your costs that are involved in buying a house. Well, we've only scratched the surface today, even though we've covered a ton of topics. I know you have other questions. Please feel free to draw on the knowledge of the Donovan Home Team. We've been in business for over 20 years, and we've probably come across almost every question that you can think of, but maybe a few you haven't, in which case we'll be glad to find out the answer for you. In the meantime, if you're thinking of buying, make sure you click here. And if you're thinking of selling, make sure you click here. Until next time, remember to keep in tune with the market and make it a great day.